executive producer and team lead on Valorant. First, I want to thank you all for coming out today to hear more about our game. We love introducing Valorant to new audiences around the world. But I'll be coming back at the end of the presentation to talk a little bit more about our future plans for the game. So today you'll be hearing from myself, our game director, Joe Ziegler, our anti-cheat lead, Paul Chamberlain, and our engineering lead, David Straley, about how all of these things came together to make this game. So what is Valorant? Well, at a high level, Valorant is a stylish, competitive, 5v5 character-based tactical shooter. Players team up in squads of 5, each player chooses a different agent from the roster, and these create unique team compositions. They then take on an opposing team in a round-based bomb plant attackers versus defenders game mode. We plan to release new agents about every 2 months, each one with their own unique playstyle and theme. Valorant is meant to be the kind of competitive tactical shooter where superstars can shine in their own unique ways. There are so many ways to play each agent, and even more creative opportunities for teams to come together and build new strategies. Each player, each team, each match has its own unique flavor. So throughout its development, game design and technology have been working hand in hand to ensure the highest level of competitive integrity. It's important that you know that your games are fair and that technology isn't getting in the way. You need to know that it's actually your skill that really matters. With Valorant, we're making a long-term commitment to our community of players. Just like League of Legends, we'll continue to build on this foundation so that each year of Valorant feels better than the last. In our closed beta alone, we fixed almost 1,300 bugs and stood up 17 new data centers, all based on community feedback. And we have plans to stand up even more data centers around the world in the coming months. So what about esports? Well, Valorant is a highly competitive experience, and we hope that it will evolve into a thriving professional esport. We're not ready to make any commitments just yet, but because Valorant is and always will be in service of the most competitive players out there, we're pretty sure it'll happen. And we will work our hardest to make sure that there is competitive fairness in the game at all times, with our commitments to things like anti-cheat and 128 tick servers. Finally, Valorant is the first new IP from Riot Games since League of Legends. So let me tell you a little bit more about our universe. Valorant takes place on a near-future Earth, after a global event known as First Light. Following this event is the discovery of a new and rare material that fundamentally changes the Earth and all of its technologies. We call that Radianite. Additionally, a few people have started to manifest hypernatural abilities, and we call them Radiants. Our story and our first cinematic take place several years after First Light. A select group of Radiants and Radianite-powered agents have been recruited into a shadow organization known as the Valorant Protocol to defend the Earth against an unknown threat. I hope you enjoy it.
Phoenix, please tell me you have the package.
I would if somebody was a little less aggressive. Hey, stop! I said stop! Oh, that's how you want to play it. Ah!
You cannot let her plant.
All right, I'm going in.
What about the hostile?
I wouldn't worry about her.
Are you certain?
100. I got this.
미안해서 어쩌나?
Hey, Control. So, about the package...
While I'm not sure we'll be making a television show about Valorant anytime soon, I can say we have huge aspirations in this space, and we're really excited to tell you more about this Earth and all of the agents on it. Once again, thank you so much for coming to this presentation on Valorant. I'm going to hand it off now to Joe Ziegler, our game director, and he's going to tell you even more about the game.
Hi everyone, I'm Joe Ziegler, the game director of Valorant. As Anna mentioned, Valorant is a team competitive tactical shooter that combines character abilities and gunplay to create a fresh new experience where your skill, creativity, and team play are brought to the forefront. It's a complex and gratifying game where every moment is a unique chance to show off your capabilities, and every game is a different experience than the one before. Now let's go deeper on the design of Valorant and talk a little bit more about the gameplay. At its heart, Valorant is a game about territory control, with 2 teams of 5 agents vying to claim dominance over a location in our version of Earth. One team is the attacking team, whose job is to push into enemy territory, defeat their enemies, and plant a device called the Spike on one of the sites present on the map. The other team is the defending team, who are looking to prevent the attackers from planting the Spike, and, if it does get planted on a site, looking to take back the site to disable that Spike. Each location in Valorant takes a simple premise and creates a new puzzle around it with a different layout and a unique concept in mind. For example, with a map like Bind, players will have to learn to use teleporters to quickly outmaneuver the enemy team across the 2 sites, or create misinformation to distract their enemies. Conversely, on a map like Haven, you will have to learn how to defend and attack 3 different sites by dividing and conquering the opposing agents. Alongside the game of territory control, the 2 teams will also have to manage their resources in the form of credits, which are used to purchase abilities, weapons, and armor at the beginning of the round. Knowing when to buy an expensive kit of items or when to hold back will be the key to controlling the momentum of your play and outpacing your enemy to claim victory. Combat in Valorant is built around a highly lethal and tactical model of gunplay that we've designed to make engagements tense, skillful, and definitive. In order to achieve this, we've focused on creating a system that rewards deliberate and thoughtful actions, centered around placing yourself in the right position, predicting where your enemies are, and punishing mistakes that leave you out in the open without a plan. Shooting in Valorant comes in many different forms as well. The variety of guns available to choose from during a match provide players with a mix-up of options around range, accuracy, rate of fire, and reload to allow players to customize their loadout to fit their strategy. At Riot Games, we take competition very seriously, and to ensure competition stays at the forefront of our game, we've made heavy investments into making Valorant a high-fidelity experience. From high-tech servers to high-compatibility, high-frame-rate performance, we've built our game around the idea that the system and the technology should never be the barrier between you and your performance in-game. Your skill should shine on its own, and shouldn't be interrupted by server-client disagreements on hit registration, nor should that game-winning kill be stopped by a hiccup in movement that occurs because your opponent is lagging. Additionally, we've developed our own technology to ensure we have the right tools to fight players who are looking to gain an unfair advantage in Valorant. These tools allow us to detect and tackle cheats when they happen, and ensure that matches stay fair and focused on keeping an equal playing field for all players. It has been a great joy watching Valorant grow and bringing it to players all across the world. From new players to experienced tactical shooters alike, we've witnessed many players create their own unique moments where they bring victory back from the narrow jaws of defeat and shine to become heroes for their teams. As we continue to roll Valorant out to the world, we are excited to see what new players from these regions bring to the table, sharing their unique creativity and gaming prowess to introduce new ideas that up the bar globally for competition. Thank you for sticking around to learn more about Valorant. From here, let me introduce our next 2 speakers. Paul Chamberlain, our lead of Anti-Cheat, who will be diving deeper into our efforts to fight cheating in Valorant, and David Straley, who will cover more about the technology behind our game that allows us to deliver the crisp and responsive gameplay we are so proud of. Have a great day.
Hi everyone, I'm Paul Chamberlain, the anti-cheat lead for Valorant. Before I talk about our anti-cheat technology, I want to repeat a theme you'll hear from all of us. Valorant is committed to preserving competitive integrity. What this means is we will do everything we can to ensure the fairness of Valorant, that a player can invest their time into this game and feel like it's worthwhile. One of the biggest threats to competitive integrity is cheating. Whether you run into cheaters who ruin your game, or you accomplish great things in Valorant, but nobody believes you because they think you're cheating. Either way, your experience has been ruined, and both of these outcomes are terrible, so we want to prevent them. As such, if we want players to invest their time into Valorant, we owe them a strong anti-cheat. The first way we've done this is to build Valorant from the ground up with anti-cheat in mind. I was one of the first engineers hired onto the team, and my job has been to advise on all the ways we can make it harder to cheat in Valorant. This includes things like designing Valorant to be almost entirely server authoritative. This makes it impossible to make instant kill cheats, or speed hacks, or God mode cheats, because the server determines these things and not the player's client. Additionally, with Valorant, there is a unique system in place we call the Fog of War, where we don't send information of enemy player locations to your client until it's absolutely necessary. This helps prevent cheats like wall hacks, where a player can always see enemies no matter where they are on the map. We know these two features aren't going to prevent all cheats, but they're just some examples of how we've developed the game to be cheat resistant from the start. Where we're investing even more of our efforts is in our proprietary anti-cheat detection software, Vanguard. With Vanguard, we've already been able to detect and take action on tens of thousands of cheaters with hardware bans for many of them. And because Vanguard is developed entirely in-house, we're able to react to cheat developers with immediate patches, as well as terminating games that have cheaters and providing a loss forgiveness for all the players in those games. Vanguard works by combining a system driver to ensure the integrity of the game and to prevent many cheats from loading, combined with a suite of flexible detection scans that use technical and game data to find anomalies. This system allows us to prevent and detect a wide array of cheats quickly to help us ensure fair matches. With all of this said, we know that the war against cheaters is never really won. None of these features are meant to be the final solution. Rather, they're meant to signal our commitment to fighting cheaters and ensuring that your games are fair. We want to build this game with the community and with community feedback, and that also means keeping an eye out for any adaptations that cheaters make. Thanks for listening to this presentation. I'm going to hand this off to David Straley, Valorant's technical engineering lead, who has more to say about what we're doing to keep your matches fair. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Ni hao. I'm David Straley. I'm the product tech lead for Valorant, and I am beyond excited to be here with you all and to share with you what our team has been working on for the past couple of years. So, Riot Games has a company mission statement. We aspire to be the most player-focused games company in the world. Thinking about the tactical shooter genre, what do players want? One thing that rang clear to us at Riot is competitive integrity. Competitive integrity, in essence, is that for every single game you play, whether you win or you lose, you are in control of the outcome. Through no fault of the internet, of game servers, or even your local computer, you control your own destiny. Otherwise said, the game is a natural extension of your ability and skill. Making a game like this is hard. It requires multi-year dedication, unrelenting focus on a long-term goal, and a world-class engineering team. I'm going to spend a few minutes walking through some of the technical details of what we did on Valorant, but first, as a teaser, we have 128-tick game servers for free for everyone globally. We are also targeting a 35 millisecond ping or less for most players. For folks in China, of course, we are very likely going to hit that at a much higher margin just by the nature of Tencent's help in deploying a bunch of our networking infrastructure. So one of the most spicy bits of competitive integrity is Peeker's advantage. Some folks may know what this is, some folks may not, but I think an overview is probably warranted. I've got a video to kind of demonstrate what it is. So in this video, the player on the right is peeking out on the player on the left. I've added a bunch of lag to this local setup so the experience is kind of demonstrable. So you'll see here as the player on the right peeks out on the player on the left, there's actually a moment in time where the player can see the opponent defending, whereas the defender does not even know that they exist. Obviously, this is really bad for gameplay reasons, and we've done a lot of effort on our team here on Valorant to try to make this as minimal as possible, which, again, I'll dive into. So to kind of recap what you just saw from a technical sense, player A is peeking out on player B. And the reason for the delay is because of a network round trip. On player A's computer, they have to send messages up to the game server. The server then has to process that and send it out to player B. And again, minimizing that loop is the ultimate goal of our technology. So we did a bunch of measurements with professional gamers and with high-skill players here at the company, and we found that any round trip less than 80 milliseconds is fair per testing. However, I am pleased to say that for most of our players on average, and again, likely better for China because of Tencent, our peak advantage is going to be 60 milliseconds on average. Of course, if you're going to be playing in tournaments or in a local LAN setup, it's going to be much better than that. You don't have to deal with the network round trip, so your peaker's advantage is going to be something probably 15 milliseconds or less. So there's 3 different parts to peaker's advantage that kind of make up the formula: client performance, network latency, and server performance. For the sake of this demonstration, where I'm talking mainly about the netcode and code technology that we built within the studio, I'm going to focus just on the former and the latter. So to start with, for client performance, here's our min specs. There's a lot of detail on the screen, but in general, if you want to play at least at a 30 FPS like min bar, you're going to have to spend about $120 to get a comparable machine. For comparison, most folks in League of Legends can support this, and you can have up to really 10-year-old hardware and be good. If you want to have the higher end experience near 144 FPS, you're going to have to spend about $1,000. However, this is still within the range of accessibility. Already a third of League of Legends players can play at this spec, so I expect a lot of you will be able to play kind of at this level and be competitive. So for our server technology, as I mentioned, we're going to be running 128-tick servers for free for everyone globally. But not only that, we're built to scale, right? One 36-core machine can concurrently host 108 games or 1,080 players. A lot of competitors out there say they support 128-tick, but really it's only in very narrow circumstances with a smaller subset of audience. They either charge a subscription fee every month to play, or it's only for very, very bespoke tournaments. We're going to provide this no matter what for every single situation, no matter how you play, no matter the game mode, to kind of guarantee that you kind of keep that level of competitive integrity, no matter the situation. So I've kind of talked a little bit about the technology behind the scenes, but the thing I haven't talked about is what the player benefit is. So I'm going to dive a bit into some hit registration logic, some of our philosophies on combat, as well as some philosophy on movement. So first, hit registration. So I have a video here that kind of demonstrates the old technology before 128-tick and before some of our new netcode. So the blue outline is what you see when you shoot at a player on your local computer. The red outline is what the server thinks happened when they have to rewind back in time on the server to validate that your shot actually hit. In the ideal situation, these two capsules overlap perfectly, so there is no pixel difference. So as I mentioned, this is 64-tick running some older technology. It's okay, it's not good, it's not great, but it's at least close enough. The only place where you're really going to be wrong is if you are just on the edge of a character's body, either on the left or like on the right. So now let me show you some of our newer technology, which again is powered by a bunch of our infrastructure. I'll let the kind of video first speak for itself. So you see that the capsules of the red and the blue actually overline like near perfectly, right? This is the type of standard that we want to set. And the funny thing too is even this video is maybe 3 or 4 months old. We've done a bunch of bug fixing and iteration in the recent time so that they're even more aligned, so that things like footstep differences don't even exist anymore now on the live environment. So another thing that we are trying to do with our technology is we want to disincentivize dry peeking. Dry peeking is the concept that because of peeker's advantage, you can aggressively peek out and around corners and get the first shot on the player before they even see you. And your competitive advantage is in you abusing that situation. We obviously don't want that situation to be the primary point of play in our game, and we'd much rather have players instead have to think strategically, work with their teammates, and use abilities like smokes and flashbangs to get around corners and force that type of play to really level up. We think if you only rely on gunplay and use that kind of abusive peeking, you're never really going to get above like the league equivalent of platinum. You're really never going to be a top tier player. The only way you can truly kind of excel and operate at the highest level of skill is if you take in the combination of gunplay and abilities. You're going to have to use those smoke grenades. You're going to have to use those flashbangs. You're going to have to use those other types of utility to really have a competitive advantage, because you can no longer abuse kind of the network constraints that exist maybe in other first-person shooters. So the last thing I want to talk about is smooth player movement. A lot of games out there by default run 64 tick servers or even less. The problem is, though, if you're running a high-spec client and you're running a lot of updates to the server, no matter what, opponents and even you on the receiving end, you're never going to get anything higher than a 64 tick fidelity. So this, in effect, is the weakest link, and it's always going to be the bottleneck for your type of fidelity in what you see. Now, obviously, if you run 128 tick, everyone's going to be able to operate at a smooth 128 tick, so you all kind of get that smooth experience. But even furthermore, if an opponent has a really, really low tick rate, we're actually going to upsample them so that you get a more smooth experience shown on your screen. So that really, against the philosophy, no other player in your 10-person game can otherwise impact your fairness in your local play. That's a number one tenet that we live by, and that's kind of what we built through all this technology. So I've got 2 videos to kind of show what upsampling looks like in our game, and then we'll wrap. So first, you've got Jet here. On the top is without our upsampling. On the bottom, it is with upsampling. You'll notice that it is a lot more smooth on the bottom. It's nice and steady. Whereas on the top, you can see a little bit of the jitter as it chops back and forth, which kind of makes it look a little bit uneven, and it's harder to track and shoot your opponent in those situations. Second video I want to show is from the first person's perspective. So the player on the right has quite a bit of lag, 150 milliseconds, as well as about 90% packet loss for demo purposes. You'll notice that they pop and jitter all over the screen in a very uneven way. But when looking at them from an opponent's view, it's as smooth as butter. You can't even tell if your opponent's running, say, a $2,000 machine or a $50 machine. Again, the point here is that if you have a bad local computer or setup, that's on you to fix and make it better, but your bad experience is never going to spill over onto other people within the game. So anyway, this is just a taste in what we built kind of on Valorant. Furthermore, this is just the beginning. We are a live service and we're in it for the long haul. Everything's only going to get better over time. We have a commitment to competitive integrity, and we have a commitment to you, the player. Thank you for letting myself and the rest of my team come and speak to you all at ChinaJoy. We're excited for the future. We're excited to have you join us, and we'll see you out on the battlefield. Thanks for listening. Saijian. Have a good day.
Hi, it's me again. I just wanted to close out this presentation by thanking ChinaJoy. We really appreciate the invitation from you to join this Game Developers Conference. I'm sorry we couldn't be there in person, but we are happy to speak to so many game developers and players in China, because bringing Valorant to the world is the thing we are most excited about. And real quick before I go, I did want to talk a little bit about the future of Valorant and where I could see the game in a year, 2 years, or maybe 5. Just like with League of Legends, we are constantly looking for ways to surprise and delight our player community. And with Valorant, that could look like things like new agents, or new maps, new weapon skins, new game modes, maybe whole new ways to think about competitive play, or maybe even Valorant on new platforms. But no promises there just yet. What I can say is that Riot is completely committed to this Valorant community, and we're hoping to build on this foundation for decades to come. Thanks, everybody.